today is a big day. Your cookbook is available.
It's coming out. I'm so excited. It's available everywhere books are sold, basically. I can't wait.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the deal. This book is already taken over the internet. This is no exaggeration. Look, I'm speaking from experience, having been through this publishing process and then launching a book, and our book, amazingly hitting the New York Times bestseller list and all that great stuff. But like, you're going through all this right now, and I understand like all the craziness that's going on, but this is a real situation in the sense that like the publisher didn't print enough books. And because of COVID, it's now a big challenge to get more books. So like there's going to be a delay and you're literally going to sell out. Like it's going to happen. There's no question, because they can't get new ones till like June or something like that. I watched the video. You talked about this on your Instagram today. And so like people need to buy the book now if they want it. And I can't recommend it enough.
Thank you so much, Robbie. Yes, it's a bit of an interesting situation. Basically, what happened is like the PlantYou community just went nuts and pre-ordered so many copies of PlantYou to the point where it's now anticipated that stores are not going to have a lot of stock. And then the stock that they do have will likely, just on the pace of sales of the book, sell out quite quickly. So if anybody is wanting to get their hands on the book before June because of these global supply issues, you'll want to purchase when you're listening to this, basically, which is
exactly
awesome and gut-wrenching and just a whole mixed bag of feelings.
It's amazing. And so we're going to talk about your community in a moment here, but I also just want to highlight the fact that, we talked about this endlessly when we were, announcing our book. Supporting local bookstores, it matters. Like it absolutely matters. We want these places to stay in business. I'm sure a lot of us have had the experience of going to a bookstore and it's fun and you get to look and you can see, like, we don't want them to disappear. Of course, we all like Amazon. We want that to stick around too. So you can buy on Amazon if that's what's best for you, but going to your local bookstore is a great idea. And it's also going to be potentially true that there'll be like little stores here or there will be the only places left that will have a book. So try and support them if you can, and pick up your copy there. But let's talk about your community, Carleigh. When did you start? What year did you start this whole journey of posting videos on the internet?
I think probably, and it started with images around 2015 or 2016, and it was actually at the beginning of my plant-based journey. So I went plant-based in the year 2015, and it was shortly after that I started kind of documenting my journey of transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle and the food I was making. And sort of over the last, I guess, now 7 years, have cultivated just this incredible community. I love them on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and now I get to live the dream and make plant-based recipe videos every day.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I just want to like provide some context here. We also at Mastering Diabetes, we're doing everything we can to produce content and information that people love. Okay. Like we want to serve our audience, and that's what you do. And you do it in an incredible way. You started roughly around the same time we did, okay? Like roughly. And your content is so good. Like people just love it. The recipes are so good. They taste so good. They look so good. You're so entertaining that you literally have blown up. And it's like not an exaggeration. Your TikTok following is 1.4 million, I believe. You're just approaching 1 million on Instagram. I'm not sure how big your Facebook is, but like it's sensational, and I'm inspired by you. I'm like proud of you. I'm happy for you, and I just want people to like get in your sphere so they can learn. And we're going to talk a lot about some of the fun, creative ideas that you come up with, so people can benefit in this episode today. But I'm just really excited for you and everything that's happening.
That's of the highest compliment coming from you, Robbie. But yeah, it's been really, really crazy. Like sometimes people will be like, oh, you're at almost 1 million followers on Instagram. And I'm like, who, me? Like it just doesn't compute that like that many people have their eyes on my content. Like that's just mind blowing to me. So I'm just as surprised as you are. Like it makes no sense. But here I find myself.
Yeah. So let's start with a little bit of background information. Tell us like how you got into this and why it's important to you.
So basically, I went plant-based in 2015 after the World Health Organization announced that red and processed meat were now classed as group 2 and group 1 carcinogens. My dad, when I was 11 years old, was diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer. And thankfully, with surgery and chemotherapy, is a survivor. But like a lot of people, my dad was like my hero growing up. And that was very traumatic for me. And it wasn't until 2015 that I remember that news coming out, and distinctly that my dad was like angry and felt like we had been lied to, because in Canada specifically, before a couple of years ago, the Canada Food Guide literally recommended your plate to have meat and dairy on it. And that's how we lived. Like literally meat was breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all washed down with a glass of dairy milk. So even after that invasive cancer surgery, chemotherapy, the whole bit, we were still eating like chicken wings every Thursday night. So that news definitely hit home. And then I always say to people when they kind of get that why, it's like opening Pandora's box in the plant-based world. Started reading the books like How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger and Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and just felt this kind of fire lit up in me to want to spread the word about how incredible a plant-based lifestyle both could be from a health perspective, but also the impact it has on both our environment and the animals. So at the time, I was working up in Northern Ontario, Canada, and as a radio host, actually. And I started just sharing kind of like my journey. I didn't know how to cook. I was like the biggest meat eater anybody would know. And it was all kind of trial and error. And I started documenting these little recipes that I was making under the Instagram name PlantYou. And what do you know? I mean, 7 years later, I guess I'm sitting here with you on this podcast, and we have PlantYou, the cookbook, coming out, which is actually the cookbook that I wish I had when I first went plant-based, because I think a lot of the information out there and a lot of the recipes at that time, as you would know, when you search on like Pinterest, it was very focused on like these crazy, elaborate, beautiful, like nourish bowls. And it gave this perception that that's all there was to eat. And for me, I was like coming from this very meat and potatoes lifestyle. So I started by just kind of like swapping out the animal products in the food that I already knew and loved. And that was the way I sort of adapted to finally embracing a vegan and plant-based lifestyle 100%.
Yeah, and that's something really, I think, unique and special about your book and your message and what you're doing is so inviting and so helpful. We're just gonna eat more plants. Like let's replace some of these meals. You just one at a time. Here's some new recipes, and it's gonna taste amazing. It's not going to be a sacrifice. You're going to enjoy it, and you're going to take it. It's going to be slow and steady. That's your message.
A lot of people, I think, look at a plant-based lifestyle, and I know I get this all the time, and I'm sure you do as well, and they're like, oh, isn't it so restrictive? And it's really interesting, but when I made that transition, had never eaten such a wide variety of food, such a wide variety of cuisines and plants than when I went plant-based. Because if you really look at like the standard American diet, which is what I was basically eating, it was just a rotation of the same thing every night. Like I had gotten kind of caught up in the diet culture of it, but I was like eating plain chicken breast with like rice and beans every night. And it's like, I find the plant-based recipes much more flavorful, much more diverse,
Yes.
and better for you, quite frankly.
No question. And so, the book is beautiful, Carleigh. So I'm looking at it right now. For anybody on video, they can see it. If you're on audio, you can't see it yet, but get your hands on it. Carleigh's holding it too. You have a beautiful foreword by Dr. Will Bolskowitz, which was amazing. Love that. And you have a lot of really simple, practical tips in the beginning of the book, like really easy to understand. I think that's, again, a hallmark of everything you do is that it's simple, it's easy. Let's not overthink this. Let's make it fun. Let's make it beautiful.